Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am teacher Ida Murni Jamari from YMS EduTech Learning Hub. Inshallah, we help students to improve in math and science by 2 grades in less than 3 months. Alhamdulillah, today I will be sharing with the PSLE parents and students revision on PSLE math heuristic. And this live session or this video is also suitable for primary 5 parents and students. So if you have friends who are sitting for PSLE, if you have children sitting for PSLE and friends whose children are sitting for PSLE, please share this with them, inshallah. Okay, so today I'm covering on the first heuristic concept, which is remainder concept. Okay, remainder concept is also known as part-whole concept. Okay, in some books they call it part-whole concept. Okay, later I will share with you why it is called a part-whole concept. Okay, so how do we solve a remainder concept type of questions? There are two methods to do so. Okay, so the two methods are, you can either solve by model drawing, okay, model, or by branching. In today's session, I'll be sharing with you how to solve remainder concept using both methods. Alright, so I always advise my students to have or to master more than one type of technique, so that during exam, if model drawing is not suitable for the question, they can use branching, or if they feel that branching they cannot visualize better using branching, they can use model method. Okay, so it's good to have more than one technique or more tools when sitting for exam, inshallah. Okay, so those are the two methods: model drawing, branching, and the basis of remainder concept is lowest common multiple. So in solving remainder concept questions, students need to identify what are the lowest common multiple of numbers. Okay, so the basis or the foundation of it is lowest common multiple, or first common multiple. Okay, so this is a short note on remainder concept. All right, I repeat, remainder concept is also known as part-whole concept. In some books they use the word part-whole concept, in some books they use it as remainder concept. And two ways to solve this kind of question is by model method or branching. The foundation or the basis of remainder concept is finding the first common multiple or the lowest common multiple. Okay, and you may ask, how would my child know if the problem is testing on remainder concept? Okay, so one of the keywords that your child will able to see will be the word remainder or remaining. However, not all problems will mention the word remainder or remaining, which I'm going to share with you later. A second type of question, which is also remainder concept question, but there is no mentioning of the word remainder or remaining. Alright? Okay, so these are little notes about remainder concept. Okay, I have to erase this because I need space. Okay, so now let us start to solve a question on remainder concept. So let's take a look at the first example. Okay, is everything okay? Okay, so let's take a look at the first example. The first example reads, Benedict spent 2 out of 9 of his pocket money on books, 2 out of 5 of the remainder on magazines, and saved the rest. If he spent $16 more on magazines than on books, how much did he have at first? Okay, so what are the important keywords? So Benedict spent 2 out of 9 of his pocket money on books. So a fraction consists of two numbers, the numerator and the denominator. student must be able to identify the number represent which item. Okay, so this statement say Benedict spent 2 out of 9 of his pocket money. Of in math means multiply. Okay, so this 2 units is referring to the money spent on books, and this 9 units is referring to his total amount of money. Okay, then what happened? 2/5 of the remainder on magazines. So 2/5 of remainder on magazines. Again, there are 2 numbers in a fraction, the numerator and the denominator, and there are 2 items being mentioned here. Remainder, magazines. Okay, so these 5 units belong to remainder, these 2 units belong to magazine. Alright, so your child has highlighted or underlined the keyword remainder. So your child should know that this is remainder concept problem sum. Okay, and save the rest. Save the rest. Okay, so if he spent $16 more on magazines than on books. Okay, so he spent $16 more on magazine than books. So how much did he have at first? So we want to know how much Benedict had at first. Alright, so we have underlined all the important keywords, and I will always remind my students that when you are solving a math problem, every information is important. You cannot afford to miss out on any information, because this is not like a comprehension passage whereby some information is not questioned under the question section. But for math, problem sum math, every number, every item is important. Okay? Okay, so let's solve now. I'm going to show you using model method, and I'm going to share with you that not all the time students can use model method in solving remainder concept, because at times it gets a little bit confusing or it gets a little bit complicated. Okay, so that is why students also need to equip themselves with the second method, which is branching method. Okay, but it's okay, I will still show you how to solve this using model method. Okay, so let's start. So it says Benedict spent 2 out of 9 of his pocket money. So based on the fraction given, his pocket money is 9 units. So I'm going to draw 9 units. Okay, so I have 9 units there. So these 9 units represent Benedict's pocket money. So 2 out of 9 was spent on books. 1, 2, spent on books. Okay, and then 2/5 of the remainder. So these 7 units were the remainder. Alright, so spent on books, this one done. Okay, 2/5 of the remainder. Okay, then when your child checked his model or her model, and then he or she realized that, I thought 5 units is for the remainder, but based on the model, I have 7 units. So this is where the first common multiple or the lowest common multiple comes in handy. Okay, so based on the model, there are 7 units. Based on the question, there are 5 units. So we need to find the first common multiple of 7 and 5. First common multiple of 5 and 7. So that will be 35. Okay, so which means these 7 units has to be cut into 35 units. Okay, so this is where model does not come in handy, because your child has to cut into 35 units, which can be really small and cramped. Okay, and it's quite hard for your child to see. Okay, so what I will advise my students to do instead, you don't divide it into 5, but you can write above here 7 times 5, 35 units. So for every 1 unit of these 7 units of remainder, you have to multiply by 5. So when you indicate this above your model, you can easily see how many units there should be. Okay? And we have to do the same to the number of units of books. For the remainder, I have multiplied by 5. I must also multiply by 5 to the number of units of books. So 2 multiplied by 5, that makes 10 units. Okay, so based on this, we can see that 10 units were spent on books, 35 units were the remainder. Okay, so let's continue. He spent 2/5 of the remainder on magazines. Okay, so 2/5 of the remainder on magazines. So how many units is that? 2 out of 5. I have changed the 7 units to become 35. I must do the same to the 5 units from the question to be 35. So that is a multiplication of 7. Multiply the 2 units by 7. So that means he spent 14 units on magazines. Okay? So out of this remainder, 14 units on magazine. Unit 5, 5, 10, 14, somewhere here. Okay, on magazine, 14 units. So we're going to indicate there 14 units on magazine. Okay, just write down. Indicate, annotate on your model. Okay. Okay, so next, if he spent $16 more on magazines than books. Okay, so how many units did Benedict spend on magazines? He spent 14 units on magazine. How many units did he spend on books? He spent 10 units on books. So the difference is 14 units minus 10 units, that makes 4 units. So what is this 4 units referring to? This 4 units is referring to $16. Always find 1 unit. So 16 divided by 4, that makes $4. So what does the question want? How much did he have at first? Okay, so how much did he have at first? He does not have 9 units. We have changed everything to 10 plus 35 units. So 45 units. 45 multiplied by $4. That makes $180. Alright, so Benedict had $180 at first. Okay, so this is how we solve a remainder concept using model method. Alright, for those of you who miss out on this part, don't worry, because inshallah our video will be archived in YMS EduTech Facebook page, as well as it will be archived in YMS Math Science Tuition IGTV, inshallah. Alright, so we have solved this remainder concept using model method. Now I'm going to show you how to solve it using branching method. Okay, let's go. Okay, to solve by branching method, first we are talking about Benedict's money. So we're going to label money. And it says he spent 2/9 of his money on books. Branch out, 2 out of 9 on books. So if he spent 2 out of 9 of his money on books, how much remainder did he have? We have 7 out of 9 remainder. Okay, 2/5 of the remainder on magazines. So out of this 7 out of 9, 2 out of 5 was spent on magazines. Okay, and then he saved the rest. So if he spent 2/5 of the remainder on magazines, that means he was left with 3/5 of the remainder to be saved. Okay, he spent $16 more on magazines than on books. Okay, now this 2 out of 5, the fraction of 2 out of 5 spent on magazines is not 2 out of total, but it is 2/5 of remainder. What we need to do is to convert this fraction into a fraction of out of the actual total. Alright, so I'm going to find out how much of his money was spent on magazines. So 2 out of 5 multiplied by 7 out of 9, that is 14 out of 45. Okay, so what does this mean? This means 14 units were spent on magazines, 45 units were total. Alright, so this is what he spent on magazines. Alright, so when we look back at the fraction of the books, the denominator is 9, while the total now is 45. So I need to change the fraction of books into out of 45. So we do that. 2 out of 9 is equivalent to what out of 45? So 9 multiplied by 5, 2 multiplied by 5, so that will be 10 out of 45. Again, we are talking about first common multiple here. First common multiple of 9 and 45. Okay? Okay, so he spent 10 units on books, and these 45 units were the total. So he spent $16 more on magazines than on books. Okay, so looking at this, 14 units were spent on magazine, 10 units were spent on books. Okay, I'm just going to write above here because I don't have space. 14 units minus 10 units is 4 units. So this 4 units is referring to $16. Always find 1 unit. 16 divided by 4, $4. Okay, how much did he have at first? So he had 45 units at first. 45 multiplied by $4, that makes $180. Okay? Right? So a branching method is neater for this question. Alright, unlike model method whereby the student has to divide the model into 35 units, okay, which can be very cramped, very small, and it will be very hard to see. Okay, so the alternative solution to it is to label above the model like how I showed you just now, or solve by branching method. Okay, so that is a question on remainder concept. You may want to open up your child's textbook or assessment books and find more questions that have the keyword remainder and try out the method. Okay, and earlier I have also mentioned that not all remainder concept question has the keyword remainder or remaining. Okay, example in question 2 here, let me erase this back so we can see better. In question 2, it says, at a book fair, 2 out of 5 of the customers were men. Full stop. There were twice as many women as children. Okay, so how do I know this is remainder concept type of question? Because the first part of the question says 2/5 of the customers were men. So there's another remaining fraction, right? The other remaining fraction will be 3/5. The 3/5 is the remainder, which is not mentioned in the question, but our child needs to know that this is remainder type of question. Okay, so this 3/5 is referring to women plus children. Okay, so again, you may want to dig up questions that have similar concept as this. So it talks about a fraction referring to an item, and then suddenly it talks about other items. So you will know that this is remainder concept type of question. Okay, so if you have any question, you can feel free to send us a message through Facebook or IG. Alright, and inshallah we will address the questions, inshallah. So that's all from me today. Inshallah, I'll see you tomorrow for PSLE Science live video, same time at 4 PM, inshallah. I'm Tisha Ida Murni Jamari once again from YMS EduTech Learning Hub. Hurry to success!